This is All India Radio. I am Anuja Kumar and with me is Anita Anand with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts virtually with IPS probationers in Hyderabad, says they should always be alert and prepared to take on challenges. PM lauds the good work done by police during the COVID-19 pandemic. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to represent India at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO meeting in Moscow today. Chief of Army Staff General M.M. Naravane reviews the situation along the LAC in Ladakh, says morale of Indian troops is high. And COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 77.15%, over 30 lakh people recovered so far. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the Indian Police Service IPS probationers to be alert and always prepared for unexpected things.
इसमें कभी भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज मत होने देना। कांस्टेबलरी लेवल की इंटेलिजेंस पुलिसिंग के लिए बहुत आवश्यक होती है जी। इसमें कभी कमी मत आने देना। आपको अपने एसेट्स, अपने रिसोर्स, इसको जितना पनपा सकते हैं पनपा पर थाने के लोगों को बल देना चाहिए, उनको प्रोत्साहित करना चाहिए। लेकिन इन दिनों टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी बड़ी मात्रा में सरलता से उपलब्ध है, इन दिनों जितने भी क्राइम डिटेक्ट होते हैं उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत मदद कर रही है। चाहे सीसीटीवी कैमरा फुटेज हो, चाहे मोबाइल ट्रैकिंग हो, आपको बहुत बड़ी मदद करते हैं। अच्छी चीज है।
He also stressed on the need for preventing youth from taking wrong path at an early stage of life.
लद्दाख हो, वैली हो, करगिल हो, सचमुच में बहुत ही अच्छे लोग हैं, बहुत ही प्यारे लोग हैं और मुझे विश्वास है कि हम सबके प्रयासों से उनकी जो खुशनुमा जिंदगी है वो हम वापस ले पाएंगे। लेकिन आपने टेक्सटाइल किया हुआ है और कश्मीर की विशेष ताकत है और इसलिए जिस प्रकार के शॉल वगैरह वो हाथ से बनाते हैं, टेक्सटाइल का काम जो वहां होता है वो अद्भुत है। आप पुलिसिंग के समय भी मैं आपसे आग्रह करूंगा कि जहां की आपकी ड्यूटी लगे, आप वहां की जो बहनें उनके छोटे छोटे समूह बनाइए और आप एक एक्स्ट्रा एक्टिविटी के रूप में यूनिफॉर्म के सिवाय उनके साथ घुल मिल करके ऐसे 5, 7, 10 ग्रुप बना दीजिए, जैसी आपकी क्षमता। और हम लोग सामूहिक प्रयत्न से जो बच्चे गलत रास्ते पर चले जाते हैं उनको पहले से रोकने की दिशा में अब हमें काम करना है।
Mr. Modi expressed hope that women police personnel can do the same in a better way. The Prime Minister was interacting with the IPS probationers through video conferencing today during the Deekshant parade at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy in Hyderabad. The Prime Minister asked the probationers to be proud of their uniform and said the human face of khaki uniform has been engraved in the public memory due to the good work done by the police, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic.
कोरोना के कालखंड में देश के हर कोने में खाकी वर्दी के लोग जब गीत गाते हैं, गीतों के द्वारा लोगों को शिक्षित करने का प्रयास करते हैं, खाकी वर्दी के लोग फुटपाथ पर बैठे हुए लोगों को खाना पहुंचा रहे हैं, पानी पहुंचा रहे हैं, खुद रिस्क लेकर के कोरोना के मरीज को ले जाते हैं, ये दृश्य देश ने देखे हैं। एक मानवीय चेहरा हमारी खाकी वर्दी का लोगों के मन में स्थिर हो चुका है। अब हम लोगों का जिम्मा है कि कोरोना वायरस के संकट के काल में भी जिस प्रकार से खाकी वर्दी का जो भीतर पड़ा हुआ मानवता का अंश था, जो कभी कभी टुकड़ों में दिखता था, वो एक संगठित स्वरूप में नजर आया है। ये बहुत बड़ी पूंजी है।
He said the IPS in their profession always must be alert and prepared for some unexpected things and asked them to speak to their near and dear like their teachers and to reduce stress.
Well-being of cadre, कोई न कोई इंस्टीट्यूशनल व्यवस्था, मैं समझता हूँ ये एक अच्छा प्रयोग है क्योंकि सिर्फ पुलिस नहीं, कोई भी काम आज की जिंदगी में इतनी आपाधापी है और जिसके कारण तनाव भी रहता है, वर्कलोड भी रहता है, प्रेशर रहता है और हर किसी को रहता है। तो ये जीवन का ये हिस्सा है, लेकिन ये ऐसी चीज नहीं है कि जिसको मैनेज न किया जाए। और अगर साइंटिफिक तरीके से अपने व्यक्तित्व को, अपनी क्षमताओं को और अपनी जिम्मेवारियों को अगर बहुत संतुलित तरीके से समझ करके हम व्यवस्था करते हैं तो आप देखिए, आप बड़ी आसानी से चीजों को मैनेज कर सकते हैं।
Earlier, as many as 131 IPS probationers, including 28 women, completed their 2-year-long training at the academy. The passing out parade was commanded by the best all-rounder probationer, Kiran Shruti of Tamil Nadu cadre. It is the fourth time in the Academy's history that a lady officer is commanding the parade. About 58% of the IPS probationers are engineers, while 10% have science education background and 23% have degrees in arts and commerce. According to the NPA director, a maximum of 15 probationers have been allocated to Uttar Pradesh, followed by 11 to Telangana. Home Minister Amit Shah said Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inspiring speech at the IPS officers' Deekshant parade will surely boost the morale of country's young officers. Mr. Shah said Prime Minister's speech will guide them on how to strengthen the police public relations. Conveying his best wishes to all these young IPS officers, Mr. Shah expressed hope that they will serve the nation with utmost dedication while ensuring its security and integrity. Mr. Shah expressed confidence that their commitment towards service will inspire youngsters to join the Indian police service.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has appreciated the steadfast support provided by Russia consistent with the defence and security needs of India. Mr. Singh met his Russian counterpart General Sergei Shoigu in Moscow yesterday. The defence minister, along with other senior officials, are on a 3-day visit to Russia. The meeting was held ahead of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Defence Ministers meet scheduled to be held at 2 p.m. today. The defence minister thanked Russia for their timely response to the request for procurement of particular weapon systems in the country. The meeting covered a broad range of areas of cooperation between the two countries, where it was also noted that it coincides with the inter-naval exercises scheduled to be conducted by the Indian and Russian navies off the Straits of Malacca over the next 2 days. The defence minister briefed his Russian counterpart on the Make in India defence programme in the context of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Both sides welcomed the advanced stage of discussions for setting up of an Indo-Russian joint venture for manufacturing of AK-47-203 rifles in India. The joint venture will be reportedly established with majority stakes of the Ordnance Factory Board, and the production of the rifles is slated to take place at the Kodwa Ordnance Factory in Uttar Pradesh. AK-47-203 assault rifles are considered to be one of the most modern weapons available for infantry forces. They will, in addition to the SCO meet, also attend the gatherings of Collective Security Treaty Organizations (CSTO) and Commonwealth of Independent States (CIS) countries and participate in the 75th anniversary event commemorating Victory Day of the Russian Federation.
Chief of Army Staff General Manoj Naravane has said that the situation at the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh is sensitive and tense. However, he said the morale of our Jawans is high and they are ready to deal with all challenges. Speaking to a news agency, he said, keeping in view of the situation, we have taken precautionary deployment for our own safety and security so that our security and integrity remains safeguarded. General Naravane visited Forward Post yesterday and interacted with officers, JCOs, and took stock of the preparedness. The Army Chief said the Jawans are highly motivated and are fully prepared to deal with any situation that may arise. General Naravane praised the Jawans that our officers and men are the finest in the world and will make not only the Army but also the nation proud. He said for the last 2 to 3 months, the situation has been tense, but India continuously been engaging with China both at the military and diplomatic levels and will continue in the future also.
जवानों का मनोबल बहुत ऊंचा है और हर चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए तैयार है। कह सकता हूं कि हमारे जवान सबसे अच्छे जवान हैं और वो न सिर्फ इंडियन आर्मी का लेकिन देश भी नाम रोशन करेंगे। जो LAC के ऊपर जो स्थिति है वो थोड़ी नाजुक है, गंभीर है।
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that the solution to the situation along the LO's line of actual control in Ladakh has to be found in domain of diplomacy. He was responding to queries on the online launch of his book, The India Way Strategies for an Uncertain World.
The problem is the more difficult parts are more recent. This is not the easiest times in the relationship. We have agreements and understandings with China. neither party should attempt to change the status quo unilaterally. And the reality is what happens in the border will impact the relationship. You cannot separate. I am totally convinced that the solution to the situation has to be found in the domain of diplomacy.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted several things, but it has not impacted the aspirations of 1.3 billion Indians. Corroborating Prime Minister's address at US-India Summit, Mr. Javadekar said in recent months there have been far-reaching reforms. The minister said these are making business easier and red tapeism lesser.
Over 30 lakh people in the country have recovered from COVID-19 so far. In all, 66,659 patients recovered during the last 24 hours, taking the overall recovery number to 30,37,151. The overall recovery rate has also maintained its upward trend and has now reached at 77.15%. Health Ministry said the constant increase in recoveries have ensured that the actual caseload of the country is reduced and currently comprises only 21.11% of the total positive cases. The number of recovered patients is now more by over 3.6 times as compared to that of the active cases. The ministry said the number of recovered patients in the country has grown over 4 times in a span of 2 months. Health Ministry also informed that less than even 0.5% of the total active cases require ventilator support, whereas only 2% require intensive care support. It said this has been possible due to early detection, early hospitalization and effective clinical management based on standard treatment protocol. Effective implementation of test, track and treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fatality. Currently, India's case fatality rate is at 1.74%.
India has achieved the milestone of conducting nearly 11,70,000 COVID tests consecutively for 2 days today. The country witnessed significant stepping up in its COVID testing capacity in the last 5 months, from just 160 lab testing COVID samples on 23rd of March this year. The country today has 1,631 labs. Out of these, 1,025 are government labs, while remaining 606 are private. So far, with an overall testing figure of 4,66,79,145, the nation has also been able to maintain a remarkably low positivity rate of around 8.5%. Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh have recorded a positivity rate even lower than 5%.
Telangana reported 2,478 fresh COVID-19 cases during past 24 hours, taking the number of cases reported so far in the state to 1,35,884. The state also increased its daily COVID tests to over 62,000 yesterday. Meanwhile, the recovery rate also slightly improved to 75%, with 2,011 more persons recovering during last 24 hours. This took the number of recovered people so far in the state to 1,02,024. The state reported improvement in recovery rate to 75% from 73% last week against the national rate of 77.14%. Meanwhile, the number of new COVID-19 cases being reported every day in Hyderabad came down by about 35% during the past week or so, and 267 cases reported during the past 24 hours.
In our series, Experts Speak on All India Radio, we bring you the views of the leading medical experts on COVID-19. Talking to AIR News, Director at AIIMS in Delhi, Dr. Randeep Guleria advised people to aggressively follow the social distancing and hand hygiene norms to check the spread of COVID-19 infection.
Regular hand washing should be done. So those who in an area where there is coronavirus infection should wash their hands regularly. You should avoid going to crowded places, because if someone in the crowd is coughing and has the infection, he can spread to others in the crowded places. And if any member in your family has fever, cough, cold, he should stay at home and avoid going out so that he doesn't spread the infection to other people in the community.
In Tamil Nadu, a major explosion in a firecracker unit at Kattumannar Koil near Kuddalore claimed 7 lives today. A few others were injured and have been hospitalized. The fire and rescue team is carrying out rescue operations on a war footing. The Supreme Court today dismissed the plea of former Congress leader Sajjan Kumar, who is serving life imprisonment in an 1984 anti-Sikh riots case, seeking interim bail on health grounds. A bench headed by Chief Justice S.A. Bobde said it will hear him finally someday, but cannot grant him bail. It further added it is not treating the judgment of the Delhi High Court, which convicted and sentenced Kumar in the case, as faulty, merely because it has reversed earlier verdict.
You're listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts virtually with IPS probationers in Hyderabad, says they should always be alert and prepared to take on challenges. PM lauds the good work done by police during the COVID-19 pandemic. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to represent India at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO meeting in Moscow today. Chief of Army Staff General M.M. Naravane reviews the situation along the LAC in Ladakh, says morale of Indian troops is high. And COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 77.15%. Over 30 lakh people recovered so far. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
सुनिए संस्कृत जगत से जुड़ी हुई विभिन्न गतिविधियों के साथ आकाशवाणी से प्रसारित विशेष कार्यक्रम संस्कृत साप्ताहिकी अब नए समय पर प्रत्येक शनिवार प्रातः 11:20 से आकाशवाणी के समाचार चैनल FM गोल्ड पर तथा पुनः प्रसारण रविवार प्रातः 11:20 से।
Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar today virtually addressed the 60th Annual Convention of Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, SIAM. Mr. Javadekar spoke on the reviving demand in the automobile sector. He said the government is working with all stakeholders on ways and means to boost demand. The minister informed that a scrappage policy is likely to come soon, and the Champion Export Scheme is also on the anvil. He expressed happiness on the industry's overwhelming support to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Mr. Javadekar congratulated the auto industry, saying they have done a commendable job towards migrating to BS6 norms 4 years in advance and are finding ways to overcome the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. In our series on Atmanirbhar Bharat today, we bring you a special story on Kutuki mobile learning app designed and developed by Indian developers. Kutuki is one of India's early learning platform made for preschoolers. A range of learning resources, including hundreds of engaging, high-quality animated children's storybooks, rhymes, and interactive activities are available on this digital platform. It was recently recognized among the winners in the e-learning category in the government's Atmanirbhar Bharat App Innovation Challenge. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his Mann Ki Baat address last month, praised Made in India apps, including Kutuki, that won the challenge.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Principal Secretary, Power Development Department, Rohit Kansal yesterday chaired a meeting with senior officers to review the preparedness of Kashmir Power Distribution Corporation Limited, KPDCL, for winter season. He stressed on maintaining buffer stock of transformers for time-bound replacement of damaged equipment. He further called for proper maintenance of the transmission and distribution network to avoid breakdowns during the inclement weather. The Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat program aims to actively enhance interaction between people of diverse cultures living in different states and union territories in India, with the objective of promoting greater mutual understanding amongst them. Under Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat, Madhya Pradesh is paired with Manipur and Nagaland. Lot of exchange activities are happening on this front. A report from our correspondent.
The Madhya Pradesh Handicrafts and Handloom Development Corporation is planning to open its showrooms in several states of the Northeast under Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat campaign. The corporation will also work with Manipur for the development and expansion of handicrafts and handlooms. Madhya Pradesh Handicrafts Development Corporation's Managing Director Rajiv Sharma told AIR that we are initiating cultural cooperation with many states.
मध्य प्रदेश हस्तशिल्प विकास निगम नॉर्थ ईस्ट में अपना विस्तार करने जा रहा है. हम जल्दी ही गुवाहाटी और शिलोंग में अपने शोरूम खोलेंगे। पिछले दिनों मणिपुर के साथ भी हमारा संवाद हुआ है, उनके साथ बात हुई है और हमारी कोशिश है कि मणिपुर के साथ भी हमारा MOU हो और हम लोग मिलकर काम करें।
Madhya Pradesh is famous for its handicrafts and handloom products including Chanderi, Maheshwari and Bagh prints. Sarees of Madhya Pradesh are quite famous in the country and abroad. At the same time, the handloom industry of Manipur is also famous for its artistic products. These products are also in great demand. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha took a review of the Industries and Commerce Department at Raj Bhavan in Srinagar to assess the activities taken up by the department in strengthening the investment ecosystem in the Union Territory of J&K. A detailed presentation was given by Secretary Industries and Commerce, Manoj Kumar Dwivedi, outlining the current industrial scenario in the Union Territory, including setting up of industrial estates.
Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadauria visited College of Air Warfare yesterday. The Secunderabad-based College of Air Warfare, with its origins dating back to 1959, is an Indian Air Force institution of higher learning which conducts courses on air warfare for tri-service officers in an integrated manner. During his visit, Air Chief Marshal Bhadauria addressed officers from all the three services undergoing the 44th Higher Air Command course. In a major step towards self-reliance of the women in the state, Uttar Pradesh government has decided to allocate outlets under public distribution system to women self-help groups. These are the outlets which are lying unattended in the state. The move will expedite the food distribution to the needy hit by the pandemic.
The Narcotics Control Bureau NCB along with Mumbai Police today conducted searches at the premises of Shovik Chakraborty, brother of main accused Riya Chakraborty, and Samuel Miranda in connection with the drugs probe linked to the death of actor Sushant Singh Rajput. Both Shovik and Miranda, house manager of Rajput, were handed over summons to join the investigation during the raids that started early this morning. Details from our correspondent.
The Deputy Director General, Southwestern Region, NCB, Mutha Ashok Jain, said Shovik Chakravarti and Samuel Miranda have been issued notices under Section 67 of the NDPS Act and have been asked to join the investigation. Miranda was detained by the NCB this morning under provisions of Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act 1985 after a search was conducted at his residence. The NCB has already arrested two alleged drug peddlers from Bandra, Zaid Vilatra and Basit Parihar, operating in the metropolis in connection with the case. The agency has filed a case under Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act after the Enforcement Directorate shared with it a report following the cloning of two mobile phones of Riya Chakravarti. Sonali Ghadar Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
Assam Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal said that the state government has made an appeal in the Supreme Court for de-verification of the National Register of Citizens (NRC). Talking to AIR News, the Chief Minister said it must be ensured that all genuine Indian citizens must be included in the NRC list, while the name of illegal citizens should be excluded.
Updating an NRC with inclusion of names of all genuine Indian citizens and deleting the names of all illegal migrants is an issue which is being sincerely worked upon. We have already made an appeal at the Honorable Supreme Court for granting permission for a re-verification. Once permission is granted, it will give a better way for publications of an error-free NRC.
Mr. Sonowal emphasized that northeastern states must join hands to promote the region. He said Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given special emphasis for the development of this region. Mr. Sonowal said the Prime Minister visited Northeast 30 times in the last few years. The Chief Minister said that the Act East policy has played a very important role in promoting the region.
News just in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, one terrorist was killed in an encounter that broke out between terrorists and security forces in Yadipora area of Pattan in North Kashmir's Baramulla district today. According to the police, a joint team of Jammu and Kashmir Police, Army's 29 Rashtriya Rifles and Central Reserve Police Force launched a cordon and search operation at Yadipora area following the intelligence inputs about the presence of terrorists in the village. As the joint team approached towards the suspected spot, the terrorists fired upon them. That ensued an encounter which resulted into the killing of the terrorists. The identity of the slain terrorist is being ascertained. One army officer has got injured in the operation. The gunfight was going on when last reports came in. In the US Open tennis tournament, Serena Williams won in straight sets again. She moved into an All-American showdown against Sloane Stephens. Other women moving into the third round included number 2 Sophia Kenin, who won the Australian Open in February, number 7 Madison Keys, number 15 Maria Sakkari, number 18 Donna Vekic, and number 22 Amanda Anisimova, a teenager American who beat another fellow teen, Christina Scott. Earlier men's winners included number 2 Dominic Thiem, number 11 Karen Khachanov, 2014 champion Marin Cilic, and unseeded Americans Frances Tiafoe and J.J. Wolf. Number 14 Grigor Dimitrov, who got the coronavirus during an exhibition tour organized by Novak Djokovic in June, and number 25 Milos Raonic were eliminated.
The 12th Mekong-Ganga Cooperation MGC senior officials meeting reviewed the progress in all areas of cooperation. MGC is an initiative by 6 countries, India and 5 ASEAN countries, namely Cambodia, Laos PDR, Myanmar, Thailand and Vietnam, for cooperation in tourism, culture, education, as well as transport and communications. The meeting held yesterday through video conference reviewed progress made since the 10th MGC ministerial meeting held in Bangkok in August last year.
In Bihar, a 6-member central team led by Piyush Goyal, Joint Secretary in Home Ministry, visited the flood-affected areas of the state and assessed the extent of damage. Before returning to Delhi today, the team held review meeting with Chief Secretary and officials of the State Disaster Management Department. The central team has asked the state government to prepare its own estimate of the damage caused in 16 flood-affected districts. The central team would compare the data collected and make its own assessment to quantify of damage caused in affected districts. The team will submit its report to the central government for assistance. The team visited worst-affected Darbhanga, Muzaffarpur and Gopalganj districts to assess the situation. The team met the affected people and inquired about the ongoing relief and rescue operations. It also reviewed corona pandemic situation in flood-ravaged areas of the state. Now let us take a look at today's weather update. The national capital Delhi is likely to witness a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. The minimum temperature was recorded at 27 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 34 degrees. Mumbai will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. The temperature is likely to hover between 26 and 33 degrees Celsius. In Chennai, rain or thunder showers would occur towards evening or night. The minimum was 26 degrees Celsius, while the maximum temperature will be around 35 degrees Celsius. Kolkata may have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature was 26 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be 29 degrees. On to the north, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the minimum temperature was recorded at 25 degrees Celsius in Jammu, while the maximum will be around 32 degrees. The city will witness thunderstorm with rain. In Srinagar, the temperature will hover between 17 and 30 degrees Celsius. The city is likely to have partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. Ladakh is likely to witness partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. In Gilgit, the minimum temperature was 14 degrees and the maximum will be around 21 degrees Celsius. Thunderstorm with rain is likely in the city today. Muzaffarabad is also likely to have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. The minimum temperature was 19 degrees Celsius and the maximum is expected to be 32 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the minimum temperature was 24 degrees Celsius and the maximum could be around 34 degrees. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts virtually with IPS probationers in Hyderabad, says they should always be alert and prepared to take on challenges. PM lauds the good work done by police during the COVID-19 pandemic. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to represent India at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO meeting in Moscow today. Chief of Army Staff General M.M. Narawane reviews the situation along the LAC in Ladakh, says morale of Indian troops is high. And COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 77.15%. Over 30 lakh people recovered so far. And with that, we end the midday news.